here at Paris, who was the person that made you go into education in the first place?
Okay. If I had to narrow it down to one person, I would say Donna Adams was my middle school language arts teacher. She was an outstanding teacher, really personable, very strict, but she held us all in line. And anyway, I had a lot of respect for her, and saw that what she was able to do not only with me but also with students that struggled in class, and she was able to get them to meet their expectations and goals. And so she's always somebody that I had a lot of respect for, and she kind of made me open my eyes to the possibility that I could have that kind of impact on people. So it would have been her.
Definitely. And how many years were you a teacher before you became an administrator?
10. Yes, 10 years. I started as a middle school teacher, grades 6, 7, and 8. Social studies mostly, had a science class mixed in for a couple of years, and then came here, did credit recovery and ISS, and then high school social studies, and then been an administrator. This is my 4th year now.
Very wonderful. And you got your administrative degree at
William Woods.
William Woods?
William Woods. My undergrad at Westminster.
Very cool. What's been your favorite part so far about being an administrator?
The favorite part, it's, there's never a dull moment. There's very rarely I could ever say that I've had back-to-back days that are the same. So it's always a little exciting, sometimes stressful. I mean, there's a lot of different emotions that go with it, but definitely don't get bored. I like that part of it. And as a classroom teacher and a coach, you only got to see your classroom and the students you had and then the sports that you coached. As a principal, you get to see a little bit of everything. So that's been probably my favorite part of it.
Very cool. And if you need to get that,
No,
that's
it's okay.
Okay.
Probably a salesman.
And what do you miss most about being in a classroom regularly?
Yeah, the kids on a day-to-day basis, it's really fun to interact with them, and to see how their days are going, to teach them, to watch them learn. As a principal, you get to see bits and pieces of it, but you don't have that every single day, and so I definitely miss that part of it. And you get really close with the kids that are in your class and your athletes that you coach. And so you miss out on that side as a principal for sure. So I'd say I miss that the most.
Definitely. Now, a little bit of a flipped question. How much of your day as a principal would you say is taken up by disciplinary action? I know you said every day is a little different, but...
Yeah. Sorry, Tanya's shaking her head at me. No, every day is different. Some days none. Some days the entire day. It kind of just depends on what it is that pops up. If I had to say on average in a week, maybe a couple hours each day. And with some things it's going to take a little bit longer because you have to investigate, look into it. If a teacher were to send a student to the office, I would first take the student story. Then obviously I would want to talk to the teacher so I can kind of figure out both sides of the story, and then usually call the student back and determine a course of action there. But man, just to put a number on how often or how long it takes, it's hard to do. It varies for sure from day to day.
Awesome. We've been discussing a lot in this class about interpersonal problems and problem solving. How would you say that your student-to-student conflict differs from, let's say, parent-teacher or teacher-to-teacher?
Okay. How I would handle those situations?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. What I like to do with students is I like to put them face to face, especially if they've had, and unless if there were a fight and they were in a real heated moment, obviously we want to keep them separated. But if there was any kind of an argument or any kind of just a disagreement between the students, maybe through social media or just whatever, if I hear that there may be an issue, try to bring those two students together. Usually when you bring them together and they're actually face to face and they talk through their issues, almost every time they'll walk out of here either as friends or at least the situation's resolved itself to where it's not going to go on any further. And typically what I would do is I give them choices or alternatives. For instance, if this type of behavior continues and you guys continue to argue, continue to fight, and continue to disrupt the educational setting, I'll show them our handbook and I'll say these are the consequences, and I'll have them read the consequences. It's these are the things that are going to happen if you continue to do this. If you guys can then, on the other side, on the flip side, if you can fix this and resolve this situation, then you get to go back to class and we're all happy and the day goes on. And so usually try to be pretty proactive with that, try to meet those problems head on before they become real serious.
Definitely. So how does that differ when you're dealing with something like a parent's conflict with a teacher, or I don't know how often you have encounter teacher-to-teacher conflict. But
We don't really have a lot of teacher-to-teacher, but the difference there that I found is parents and teachers, if they were complaining about a situation, they just want somebody to listen. And so a lot of times with them, instead of trying to solve the problem, I'll just listen to what they have to say. And you know, just kind of don't interject ideas, just listen to what they're telling me. You know, let them know that I've taken everything they've said very seriously and that I'll look into it. And what I would typically do is, if a parent had an issue with a teacher, I would take their statement, I would then talk to the teacher, try to get their side of things, and then usually get a call back to the parent and let them know that I've investigated or I've taken care of the situation, you know, to the best of my ability, make sure that they're okay with that. And I've had a lot of success with that way, with handling things that way.
Very cool. You briefly mentioned social media conflict between your students. How prevalent is that in this school?
Probably a lot more than even I know about. We hear a lot that comes from outside of school. You might get a heads up from another student that says, listen, there's a fight on Facebook, or these students are arguing back and forth on Snapchat, or they're doing this or doing that, and all the different, you know, social media outlets, which it's really hard to keep up with all of them.
Definitely.
But the thing, we hear that a lot, and what we try to do with that is, if it interferes with the educational setting, then it becomes a school issue. And by law, once that happens, then you can pull anything that's happened outside into the school. What we try to do is we try to stop it before it becomes that big of an issue where it impacts school. So we try to be proactive. If I hear that there's an argument going on between students, we usually try to get those two students together before it blows up, or before it becomes a bigger issue. Try to. We're not always successful like that, but try.
We have learned, like I told you, the interpersonal problem solving sort of method. The very last step is to evaluate the solution, essentially to look at it, see if it worked, and adjust as need be. In an administrative setting, do you feel like you are able to get the time to sort of evaluate the solution, or do you kind of have to delegate that step?
Yes and no. There's times where I have time where I actually can really follow up on a situation and make sure that the problem's been solved. Oftentimes, I'll alert my teachers that, hey, you've got two students that I've had to talk to because we've had an issue, or we've got a parent that's concerned about something that's going on. Can you guys, you know, keep me abreast of anything that's going on or anything that's happened, and just keep your eyes on it. And usually, if I'm not able to personally do it, to follow up on it, then my teachers do a pretty good job with that. I also incorporate all office staff, you know, in situations like that, whether it be Tanya or Miss Yaus. They help us out quite a bit with that. Trying to think of anything else, you know, that I would do. If I can, and I do have the time, I want to personally try to follow up on it. You know, I put myself in classroom with students and in the hallways with those particular students, just to try to keep an eye on things and make sure that they know that I'm going to follow through on it. And that it wasn't just a 10-minute discussion in the office and then I'm going to forget all about it.
I guess it's definitely one of the benefits to being in a smaller school.
Yes.
What are some of the other benefits? I don't know how much experience you have in a larger school district. But
I've never worked in a larger school district, but you know, of course, lots of lots of friends and other people on the administrative side that do work in larger districts. I think the biggest benefit in a small district, you know every student. You know, I can walk up and down the hallways and I know everybody by name. They know me. I know all our teachers really well and have known them for some time. Some of them actually were teachers when I was in school. So it's definitely a positive being in a small school district, getting to know everybody. I mean, that's the easiest thing, or the best part of it, I guess, for me.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much for letting me ask you a couple of questions. I just want to reiterate that this will be posted on YouTube. I have no followers, so no one is going to see it other than my professor.
Okay.
And if you have any other questions or anything, feel free to shoot me an email. And yeah, thank you so much for speaking to me today.
It was fun.